Hi, this is Josh Cohen, and you're watching and listening to State of the Republic podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of State of the Republic podcast. My name is Luis, and today I'm joined by two amazing co-hosts. First, let's get started with our guest co-host of tonight, Billion Vishev. How's it going, Podcast Magic? And hey, welcome to the team.
How's it going, Luis? Awesome to be here. I have so much fun every time I'm with you guys on the podcast. Had so much fun doing the Jeopardy and really look forward to more of those episodes. So I'm really excited to be here, and thank you guys for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. Next, let's go with you, Podcast Mom. How's it going, Sharon?
Hey, good morning. Well, it's morning now, but I don't know what time it's going to be when anybody watches this, but I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day. We've got sunny California weather, and I'm looking forward to seeing Josh and talking with him and exploring a little bit about some history and what's currently going on. Thank you, Luis. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's morning time right now. Really excited to be recording an interview in the morning. Usually when we do interviews, usually they tend to be in the evening, and we tend to be really hungry. And Sharon knows how that goes, right? We start talking about food, and next thing you know, we're like, all right, I'm going to go already because I need to go eat. So that's it's definitely different, especially when you just had your breakfast. So all good here. Well, before we get started, I just wanted to remind you all, if you haven't followed us on social media, hey, why haven't you done so? You can actually find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Simply just look for @StateRepublic12 on all three platforms, and you'll be able to follow us there. Also, we do have a Facebook group called Sacramento Soccer Fans. If you haven't joined yet, please submit a request to join. And as I usually say, join in on any conversation, anything soccer related. Doesn't have to be in Sacramento. It could be anywhere else as well. So thank you to everyone who has joined that as well. Well, since you are our guest co-host today, Bishev, I thought, why not have you introduce our special guest tonight?
It would be my pleasure. Hey, Josh, thank you so much for joining us. We haven't seen each other since July 2019. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for hosting me. It's been quite a bit of time since I've gotten to see you or any of the other guys from that 2019 team.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, you've been doing big things, so we're excited to get to talk to you and see how everything's been going and how you've been doing.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on the podcast. It's been, it's been a very interesting year on many different levels. From, for me, from playing in Israel now to, the whole coronavirus situation and how that's affected both the league I'm in here and, watching how it's affected USL and MLS and all the soccer around the world. It's just kind of been a chaotic year, but, everybody, we keep moving forward and keep enjoying the soccer.
Yeah, no, of course. Real quick, since you moved, have you been following the USL and MLS, or have you been able to? I know the time difference makes it a little tough, but have you been following Sac Republic?
Yeah, so I've been following a little bit. I haven't been able to watch, live games, mostly because of the time change. Any game in the evening there ends up being a 3-4 a.m. game for me, being 10 hours ahead. But I've definitely followed the score lines and tracked the just a little bit because one of my former teammates here last year, he was actually on loan, another goalkeeper, Joe Kuzminski, he was on loan from Charleston Battery here for 6 months. So once he went back, he was playing in the USL last year. So I was following him as well.
So Josh, I have the next question.
Yeah.
Going back to when you were in Sacramento, your seasons in Sacramento, you established yourself as the starter. And I mean, like, you had all the starts in 2018. And how important was that to do that? And then how did it feel to become like a fan favorite? I want to say, you know, I think the chants were "In Josh We Trust" and that sort of stuff.
You know, coming into a new team, you're always a little bit nervous. You don't know exactly what to expect with, you know, the coaching staff, the other players, the goalkeeper union, and how everything will work out. You know, coming into Sacramento, it worked out very well for me. I was able to hit the ground running, you know, had a good start to preseason, got rolling, had a few good games right off the bat, and kind of got myself into a groove. And so that's kind of the ideal start at a new team. And that luckily, you know, those first few games, and then that became the first few months, you know, the fans, you know, they were great. They seemed to like me and like having me in goal. And so that just kind of helped build the confidence. And I tried to build on that and continue from there. But yeah, that's kind of how it goes. And it's always fun when it works out. You know, you never know what to expect, but it's good when it goes right.
How, following up on that, you know, when your back was to the Tower Bridge Battalion and you heard all that, had you ever heard anything like that before, you know, coming from your other teams?
So in not as loud or as many people, no, I hadn't, not in a positive way. I had experienced it in Sacramento in a negative way the year before. You know, I don't know if I want to bring that up now, but yeah, that was, you know, one of the first times where really just such a large presence and a large crowd like that was behind me and supporting and chanting. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, once you join Sacramento, then no matter where else you go, like no one's ever going to be booing at you and all that. So BJF, don't worry about it. No matter where you go, there's no Reno anymore. So I guess, you know, wouldn't be as mad. So all good. But yeah, you know, just being back there with the TVB, I know the chants. I know we had a really special chant for you. It was a really cool one, and you probably heard it so many different times and whatnot. And you know, I can't wait, hopefully, for you to possibly come back one day, because you know we really need to do that chant again. So switching gears to something that, you know, might be a little bit of a secret of yours. Can you tell us more about, like, how is it that you achieve the level of fitness, training, focus that you showed us in Sacramento and that we've actually seen you over in Israel show?
For me, I don't think it's really any particular secret. It's just a combination of, you know, trying to stay grounded and kind of keep your head down and working. I've had plenty of success in my career. I've been very fortunate in that regard, but I enjoy playing. And so when I get, you know, such enjoyment out of it, and I just want to be better for the sake of being better and seeing, you know, how much I can improve myself. And so my goal, you know, I do have some bigger goals, but I really just focus on the process of getting better. And I derive a lot of enjoyment just from trying to get better on the day to day. And it's about little things, little achievements and little improvements. As you know, and I know Bishop knows this, once you play with, you know, people at the higher levels, as you get up, it's all about those tiny details and those like very minor things. And so you just kind of stay focused and focus on that.
When I think of you, Josh, I think of discipline. I feel like you're one of the more disciplined players I've played with in terms of you really capitalize on the time that you have. So you don't waste a lot of time. You're always doing something purposeful to improve yourself or to improve your mind, to improve your body, to help recover, all that kind of stuff. So when I think of you, I think of discipline. And I would say that in itself is kind of a secret or a skill, because everyone knows, oh, be disciplined, but to actually implement it takes a lot of hard work, and it's almost a superpower. But I think you were really good with your discipline.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And building on that, one thing, I know there's a lot of kids and stuff who like to, who want to get better, and they commit a lot of time to something. And time is only a bit of it. What Bija is saying is, you have to be, focused with your time. It's like, in your life, you've probably spent, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of hours, like just writing notes or writing things on paper by hand. And, most of our handwriting is pretty terrible still, even though we've spent 1,000 hours doing it. But, and so it's all about using the time to like deliberately focus on the things you want to improve, the little things, because if you just throw a lot of time at a problem, you're not necessarily going to get better. It's about being disciplined with it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's very well said. It's being, cognitive of what you're doing and having a purpose to what you're doing. And along those lines, we know you were attending CSUS while, holding down the head keeper job at Sac Republic. So we saw you also balance a lot of things in life. Why was it so important for you to attend the engineering classes and to get your degree while also being a professional athlete?
For me, I think it served two purposes. One was kind of just to keep up my skills on the engineering side. And for me, that's something where if I'm confident that I'm not losing those skills, I'm more confident in my playing ability and my willingness to keep pushing my playing career further. Just because I feel like if I'm not working on those outside skills, I might be giving up something. And so, and then on the other side of it is just there's a lot of downtime to being a professional soccer player. You train during season, you train once a day, usually in the morning for a couple of hours, and the rest of the day you kind of need something so you don't go crazy. And in Sacramento, that was working on my master's degree and working towards that.
Yeah, it was impressive. I remember sometimes we'd finish training or we got back from a trip. I remember one specific instance where you had to like grab food or you made a sandwich, you finished and you went straight to classes, and you had to be there. I think it was in the evening even. The ability to balance it was impressive.
Yeah, it was mostly evening classes when I was there. And one thing I'll say is there were definitely times where I bit off more than I could chew. And I a little bit regret that because I definitely noticed moments where I wasn't training or playing as well. And it was because I was, doing too much on the school and engineering side. And so you have to find that balance for yourself, and it's different for everyone.
Yeah, I like that. I see it as it's like a double-edged sword in a sense that in order to play good, you have to get rid of any doubts or anything that's holding you back. So if the fear of losing those engineering abilities that you had was kind of keeping you from playing well, you had to hone them as well, but you had to be careful not to go too far to that side, because then obviously you want to perform and train and play as well as you can. So like you said, the balance part is very important, but it seems like you were able to do it. I'm taking some classes online as well through a community college here. I've been doing it for a few years now, but I only take 1 or 2 classes a semester to keep it really light and simple. And I more or less take classes that I would find interesting, like personal finance or philosophy, just to also keep me busy. Because like you mentioned, we do have a lot of free time as footballers, and a lot of times players will just do video games or maybe go to a coffee shop or anything. Did you have a coffee shop you liked going to? I feel like you were out of the apartment a lot studying, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the coffee shops I was at was just the one on campus because I would go there. I would, it would take a little bit of time to park sometimes. So once I parked and I was able to walk onto campus, then I could relax. I would go get some food, go sit outside a coffee shop, and finish up my homework or review things that I needed to do.
So, Josh, we didn't feel any of what was going on underneath. It's kind of like a duck on the water. You don't see how they're paddling underneath. But I'll tell you what, everybody thought you had like this massive chill attitude, and so maybe besides something in engineering, what actually got you riled up? Because there's only a couple times where we actually saw flashes from you. What situations kind of got under your skin, if you can tell us that? Or you can leave that one on the table.
No, I'm for the most part, I'm a pretty mellow person. I've actually that's something where it's not always a good thing as the goalkeeper, and I've kind of, especially being here now, I've learned more of when I need to not be mellow and how to not be mellow. In terms of in Sacramento, there were definitely a few times at training where I got frustrated, but I didn't, and I would express it in my own way, but I was definitely quieter about it than, other players who were very confrontational or could get very upset about things. But little things in regards to soccer that I get riled up about is like if you're playing a small-sided game or at training, and I'm okay if somebody makes mistakes, but if you're consistently not trying or you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. Like if you have a simple pass, but instead you try to take on and beat 4 people on your own, and you're consistently doing this, maybe if you try it once and it fails, okay, that's a mistake, that's fine. But don't take the piss at training.
Oh, yeah, I agree. As fans, that's something that we do get annoyed from, right? Whenever you see a player that constantly trying to do it on their own and they're not even really being successful and they just keep trying. It's like, hey, we're wasting opportunities, and sometimes you only have 2 or 3 in a game, so you really have to put a lot of value to them. So, Josh, let's take you back to 2018. You guys play against LAFC. I had the opportunity to be at that match. It was something else. Being Open Cup, we know how that can get, especially in away games as well. Can you walk us a little bit about what happened when they get a PK? You're right behind the 32-52. You know how loud they can get. How was it like having to block a penalty and have so many people out there saying who knows how many things at you?
Yeah, so that was a pretty amazing experience. I really wish we had won that game. It was definitely disappointing end to it, but the PK and just being in that environment was pretty amazing. On the penalty itself, I had a pretty good idea of where he was going to shoot, and everything's a percentage game. You play the odds, and if it's something like 70-30, you take the 70 and you don't overthink it. You just say, okay, the odds tell me to go to my right and low, and so I'm going to go right and low as hard as I can. But also that one, I remember I did a little double fake where I faked right, faked left, and then dove right. And that was because of the studying I'd done, the film I'd done, and seeing how their shooter on the run up is looking at me and looking to see where I move. And so if I move right and then left, he's going to shoot right. And so then that's why where the second fake comes in. And that, I've used that technique a few times, and I was really happy that it paid off that day.
Oh, that's cool. Can you tell us any more memories of that match, going into the match, traveling there, and just overall throughout the match?
Yeah, so for me, that was actually a pretty cool week. My girlfriend, she graduated from her master's program at UC Santa Barbara the week before. So I actually, I think we were playing, I don't know if it was San Antonio or Rio Grande. I think we were in Texas the game before, maybe 3 or 4 days earlier. And so I actually flew to LA a couple days earlier on my own. I went to the graduation, and then I met the team. I met the team at the hotel that weekend in LA, and we stayed right in downtown at a very nice hotel. So it was, a cool experience. I remember, Colby Jones came and spoke to us, I believe. Kind of in the hotel and kind of gave us a little pep talk, and then just going to the stadium and seeing that stadium for the first time, brand new, amazing. The field was actually not in the best condition, I remember, because they had some concerts or something on it, so that was a little disappointing. But other than that, it was amazing experience. Just being there for the game, seeing, walking out onto that field, seeing the stadiums, hearing their fans, hearing our own fans too, who traveled for the game, and getting to play, against those players, a lot of them with international experience, and seeing how well we did against them, and holding our own for the entire game.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm gonna jump in here, Billion. I know you have some memories of that, but typically a Wednesday night game in Sacramento, there might be not that many fans, for an Open Cup match. I was astounded that their stadium filled and filled and filled and filled, and they had to literally give up the area that the Sacramento fans were dedicated to, and we were surrounded by LAFC fans. I mean, that was my first experience of a Wednesday night US Open Cup match where everybody came out of the woodwork. It was probably, for me, one of my most memorable matches that I've ever attended, with the Republic, besides going to Reno and filling up their stands, doing the same thing in reverse. But that must have felt so good to actually be in a stadium like that. You just described it. Thank you for letting me jump in, Bill. Your turn.
No, I was just going to say, for our younger viewers, don't think that that's how every professional athlete gets around. You don't get to leave early and get to LA early on your own. Only the big players get to do things like that. Chartered flights, cocktails on the flight, masseuse, all that kind of stuff. I wasn't comment now, but
buying my own coach ticket and and then getting a rental car in LA and driving my own rental car.
Yeah, it's not lavish. You didn't get picked up. There was no limo.
I took the shuttle from the airport to the rental car place. It's further away because it's cheaper.
And then you walk, so you don't have to Uber or spend any money. You walk 2 miles to get there. No, but I think that's also a testament to how trusted you were too as a player. If a coach lets a player do that, they know they're not going to mess around. And I know there's definitely players that we've played with that coaches probably wouldn't let them do that. So just a testament to, again, your discipline and how trusted you were as a player. I don't know if you watched the Jeopardy episode we had, but you were one of the answers. The question was about a former player who had made a 3D printer. So if you want to tell us a little bit about that, 'cause that's pretty, you hear that, you say someone built their own 3D printer, and people think he must be a genius.
No, it's actually pretty simple these days. You can find lots of tutorials and instructions online, and then either there are plenty of places that sell kits for parts, or you can source your own parts. And so it's getting closer to plug and play these days. It's like a pretty complicated Lego set almost, but it was a cool experience. I had a smaller one in college, and I wanted to build a bigger one, and so I got some help from my dad when I was home in the off season to help make the frame out of wood, and then the rest of it, I kind of drew up a design on my own, sourced the parts, and kind of made everything work. It didn't go super smoothly, but you roll with the punches, you keep going, and eventually I was able to build a decent size wooden printer. The print area was about 1.5 cubic feet, so about 1 foot by 1 foot by 18 inches. And so it was a cool little project. And I still have that printer back in California. It's at my parents' house, either in the garage or maybe in the attic now. I don't know. but like,
they don't use it? Your parents don't use it?
No, I offered it to my dad, but no, it's in the garage.
I like how nonchalantly you're just like, yeah, we built the frame and then I just outsourced the parts and kind of it fell together. I dropped them and there you go. A Big Bang type scenario.
Boy, if we ever had a history wall of fame, we need to get that printer back from you and put it in our glass case, as part of our own history, because that was like everybody knew about that. And that's why it was an answer on Jeopardy. You were an answer.
I got the question right. I just want to say I got the question right.
That's good. That's good. It's kind of big. It might be the base of a table that you put something more important on top of.
Do we have pictures of this anywhere? I'm like, every time I hear the printer, I'm like, I want to see a picture of how it looks like.
I'm sure I have. I definitely do have photos. I don't know if I have any photos online or anything.
So before we transition to current situation, guys, are there any other questions you want to probe Josh about before we move him on?
Yeah, I have a one that I like to ask, any player who, didn't start in our academy, just was transferred. How did it come about that Sacramento approached you when you were at Phoenix? Like, how did that transfer go on? Do you have a story for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a very interesting story. I was in the off season. I was in Santa Barbara, and just for the holidays, and I was checking in with my agent every few days to every week to kind of see what new opportunities there were. And so on one of those phone calls, he said, he'd spoken with Todd, and they're definitely interested. Is there mutual interest? And I said, yes, definitely one of the teams I'd like to play for. And, I knew that at the time, that it wasn't official that the team was going to MLS, but I knew that eventually it was going to happen. And so that was also on my mind at the time. And so my agent set up a phone call with Simon, goalkeeper coach at the time. And we had a good talk about kind of where, how he saw me and just general philosophy and goalkeeping philosophy. And that talk went well. And so then we went forward with the contract talks.
Nice. And hopefully you get signed on during our first season, because we're going to need a good goalkeeper to help us out during that first year.
So Josh, as painful as it was for us to say goodbye to you in 2019, you were recruited by the top tier league in Israel and one of the big fours. Tell us the same thing. You transferred from Phoenix to us, and now all of a sudden you're gone. And how did was it as fast? I mean, it seemed like it was so quick. Tell us about that time and what that felt like.
Yes. So for me, that was a very, very stressful time, first of all. And it was very quick. I first, learned of it and got in kind of my first knowledge of, potential opportunity at this team was on Tuesday, and I was on a plane on Saturday. So that's the time frame. It was very, very quick. It was a lot of back and forth, a lot of, maybe this is going to happen. This is what one side wants. This is what the club, Maccabi Haifa wants. This is what Sacramento wants. This is what I want, and trying to reconcile those three things and get an agreement between all three parties that worked. But it came together really quickly. It was something where I love Sacramento. I loved playing there, but I saw this as a huge opportunity for myself, and it was something where it came up, and I had to that door. It opened, and I had to walk through it.
Yeah, that's understandable. I think when we found out about it, as much as we were sad, it actually was really great to see that the top club in Europe getting you on board. Then you play these European championships, which we'll be talking about here shortly. Like, yeah, it's good that you did that, and like I said, further on down the road before you retire, then MLS is going to be there and Sacramento is going to be there, and I'm sure the connection will be there. So it's good for you to get that experience over there.
Yep. It's it was important to me I needed to walk through the door, but to do it in a way where I didn't burn any bridges, and kept in good standing with Sacramento.
So I'm kind of curious, being that something that I guess you could say that we share in common right now with the Maccabi Haifa, aside from just having you there as well as someone who played for us, is of course Deco Keenan. Did he have anything to do with the transfer, and maybe with them seeing you and like recommending to them, or was he involved in any way?
I don't know specifics, but I definitely know that I'm confident that there were more eyeballs on the team and thus on me because of his presence, and because I'm sure he was still in contact with people in Israel. I mean, his parents live not too far from me. I've actually visited them here, and so I'm sure it definitely played a role. And also for me, it was something where I could talk to him and ask him questions about team, league, life stuff, and he had answers that I could trust.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I was going to say, especially for ambitious players and players who want to continue playing, that quick turnaround is how it has to be, because teams are really pushy. So you said you found out Tuesday, you had to fly out Saturday. When opportunities like that knock, especially for players who are playing currently in the USL Championship, I think you have to take them as long as you have that ambition and that desire, which I know for sure you had, and clearly you've showed that by being there. But they don't realize it's such a quick turnaround. Sometimes you don't even know what's happening, right? You're talking to an agent 1 second, and then the next second you're on a plane flying halfway across the world. You have to pack, you get to bring your carry-on and your one check-in bag, and that's all you get to travel with until you figure it out. And what was that kind of trip like, and that transition like for you?
It was very emotional. It's something where you're walking into the unknown, and you're taking this big risk with your career and with your life, and you're doing it alone, and you really don't know what's on the other side. And so it's scary at first, and then once I arrived here, I got settled in a little bit. They set me up in my apartment, got me a car right away. And I started to learn a little bit more about the team and the environment. My first few days here were very chaotic as well, though. I got here, first day, I was in a hotel for actually 2 days, and in that time I had to go do a bunch of medical tests, and then I had to go and do the actual financials and the paperwork and sign everything. And then immediately after I signed stuff, I met the team for the first time. I didn't even train. I just got on the bus, and we went down to the airport, and we were the next morning we were flying to France for a Europa League qualification match where I was on the bench. So that was my first 4 days in Israel, was medical tests, paperwork, and then going to a Europa League qualifier.
Hey, that's not a bad 4 days. That's not
true.
a bad 4 days there. But sometimes I think it's also better that it's happening so fast, because you don't have to stop and overthink things and worry too much. It's when you have one thing after the other. I found that it was always better. It was those times when I'd fly back after a break in the season, and when I'd have kind of not much going on, that I found I was overthinking things and my mind was running wild and I was missing home even more. So sometimes it's a little better to be busy, but you obviously don't want to be too busy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment. And I've noticed that a lot this year where, there's been a lot of time where I'm in quarantine or the league has been stopped. So we're able to train and not play games, or we're not even able to train. And I noticed that when we're able to train and play games, and especially when we have, games every 3-4 days, I don't really think about everything else. And so I would just kind of relax and focus on the games, focus on the moment.
No, that's awesome. I was just going to transition into when the 2019-2020 Israeli season ended so abruptly in March. What happened and where were you able to go? I think you live near the beach.
Yeah.
So how was that? Like did you have to spend time in quarantine and things like that?
Yeah, so the league kind of stopped for a few weeks. We were able to. There was about a week where there was maybe it was 2 weeks where there was no training at all, and luckily the team here has a very private training grounds, and so you were able to do little things here and there as an individual, not as a group, and then the government slowly allowed us to start training, even though the rest of the country was still on lockdown. We were able to train in groups of, just first of all, one-on-one with a coach, so one player, one coach. Then they opened it up to 2 or 3 players and a coach, and then groups of 6. Then opened it up to a half team and full team eventually. So during that period, I was pretty fortunate that I never really stopped training. I was able to do a lot of individual workouts, go on runs, do that sort of stuff, and then start doing goalkeeper training one-on-one with the goalkeeper coach. There were a couple of days where me and the other goalkeeper, we would unofficially go and meet up at the beach and do like a beach goalkeeper workout. But that was all off the books.
That's awesome to have that, I think, and it's super helpful. That's a big thing we struggled with, I know, here was being able to get clearance to get back to training. So the fact that you had that, I think, is awesome. Yeah.
The league and the people in charge of the league have been pretty good about arguing with the government about what we should or shouldn't be allowed to do. And for the most part, there's been ups and downs, but for the most part, the league has done quite well in being able to keep us training and also keep us training, keep us playing, and also establish a safe timeline so we're not rushing back to play and injury prone.
But anyhow, Josh, you were just getting into finishing out the 2019-20 season, and because there was a bit of a layoff, right? And then you had to slap it together and finish it. So how did they do that? Tell us a little bit about it.
So they just extended the season. So we had a very long season. We ended. We didn't end until the end of June. And then what that meant is that I only had I had 8 days back in California between seasons. So instead of normally we'll get about a 3-week off season if we're in European competition. This year we only had for the guys who were still in Israel, they had I think 1 week, maybe 6 days. For the international players, we got about 10 days. But given the availability of flights and then how long the flights take for me, that worked out to 8 days in California.
That's not even enough to get over jet lag and then return, right? So that's crazy. Hopefully the jet lag wasn't too bad.
Yeah, no, that's the one good thing about the flights from here, the direct flights from here to California, is that they time them. So you actually, you really don't get jet lag at all because the flight takes off at about midnight here and lands at about 6 a.m. California time. So you just sleep the duration of the flight or stay up at the first little bit and sleep most of the rest, and then you're fine. So it's actually well timed.
Well, I didn't have flights like that. Jeez, that would make too much sense. I remember struggling a lot with jet lag, especially going from California to Europe. from Europe back here, I never really struggled. I think I felt safer too and more at home, and I was more used to the timeline here. So, but yeah, that makes sense, and awesome that you had flights like that, because the jet lag was huge for me.
Yeah, I was definitely lucky.
So Josh, let's go back to last year. I know we were talking about it off air a little bit, but you got to play Europa League, and most notably, you got to play that last qualifier round. Unfortunately, you guys get paired up with probably one of the favorites to win the Europa League. But can you tell us more about how it felt to play against this, really strong team? Mourinho's the head coach. It's got to be like a surreal moment, right, to have that.
Yeah, it was, when we first saw the draw, we actually saw the draw before we had played the previous round. So we knew that if we won in Russia, then we would have to go to England and play against Tottenham. But and we ended up winning in Russia, which was a great win for us. And going into that game, it's almost there's almost less pressure than most other games, because there's zero expectation from the fans to the pundits to even your own coaching staff and club staff members. There's zero expectation. They just want you to go there and just do as well as you can and show well as a team. And so the whole experience was pretty amazing. We got there, we got to go see the brand new stadium. We trained in the stadium the night before the game. So that was pretty cool. We got to kind of walk around underneath the stadium a little bit. And then showing up for the game, you walk in and it's just, the stadium's absolutely massive. It's, 60, 70 something thousand people, or room for it. There were zero people in there when we played, but it's huge and just a crazy experience. And then walking out on the field and you're looking at the team you're playing and they've got, Harry Kane, they've got, so many of these big time stars that you watch every weekend on TV, and or me as a goalkeeper that I've looked up to. They've got Joe Hart and Hugo Lloris, both players that I still watch and study and learn things from, and so that's just kind of an unreal experience. Unfortunately, we gave up a goal very, very early on in the game. We decided as a team and the coaches decided that we were going to, come out, play very aggressive, press, and just play the way that we'd play against another team. We weren't going to park the bus. We weren't going to sit back. And, that definitely backfired on us a little bit. But I think as a team, even afterwards, even after the bad defeat, we were, for the most part, proud of how we played. Yeah, we made some defensive mistakes, but we also were able to, score a couple goals against one of the best teams in the world. And we had moments where we controlled the possession a bit and we were able to press them. And that really felt good as a team.
Who did you exchange jerseys with? Did you get a jersey?
That's what I was going to ask.
So I didn't. I had to do the UEFA drug test right after.
Because you played so well. They always get the best players and they drug test. Hey, this goalkeeper is jumping a little too high. There's something going on here.
No, it was funny. That was the first time. That was the first time I've been drug tested as a professional soccer player. So, but interesting time to be drug tested.
Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate. So did you have to get off the field right away?
I
put you to the back, right?
Honestly, I still had time that if I wanted to, I could have traded jerseys. I just, as a goalkeeper, giving up 7 goals is just, it takes a toll on your emotions, because for me, I looked through it and I thought, okay, I gave up 7 goals, and of the 7, there was one where I definitely know I should have done better. But none of them were, as someone watching, none of them were bad goals. There was one where I know I definitely could have done better. And then another one where I maybe could have done better. but still, after giving up 7, you're not happy about it, and you don't know how to feel. And so it was a little bit that, and then also the drug test. So I didn't end up trading to Jersey.
No, completely understandable.
Just time to go back and just eat the Chick-fil-A. Sorry. Memories.
Yes.
Well, that's actually a good little segment. What are the post-game meals like for you guys? How do they feed you? I remember the couple teams I was on, we had like nice buffets and we had chefs that cooked, but I don't know, what is it like there?
Yeah, so post game is actually just really simple. Like away games, it's literally just pizza, because pretty much all our away games within Israel, you bus back right after the game. It's a small country, everything's driving distance. So even if you stay at a hotel the night before, you just leave right after the game. For our home games, we get like poke bowls, but it's not actual poke because it's not raw fish. It's just cooked chicken. But these like cooked chicken bowls with rice and vegetables. So nutritious, pretty filling, simple. During the week after trainings, we have a little cafeteria. We have a couple chefs, and they make fantastic food. It's like homemade Israeli food.
How is the food there? I don't know if I've actually had Israeli food or how similar it is to Bulgarian food. I'm not sure, but do you like the food there?
Yes, the food is fantastic. It's pretty traditional Mediterranean. So you have, a lot of, chicken dishes. You have, your simple stuff with like hummus and tahini based like sauces and based dishes. You have lots of vegetables. Shakshuka is a big thing here, especially on Fridays. So Shabbat, before Shabbat, after training, we get pasta with shakshuka, which is basically like a red sauce with fried eggs, kind of. And it sounds a little weird, but it's very good.
Yeah, that sounds good, actually. I don't know. I just popped into my head. Have you met Zohan? Have you seen that movie?
Yes, I've not met Adam Sandler since I've been here.
That's actually one of my favorite movies. So that's because you said hummus and they put it on everything, and they even they spread it on any kind of food. So, but I like hummus a lot. Yeah. So funny thought popped in my head.
That's funny. I bet sometimes you guys wish that you could have had some of that sort of food as opposed to, pizza or Chick-fil-A here in Sacramento. But, so Josh, let's take us through a typical training day. You talked about the food. How does your typical day work? And then what are your accommodations there? Everybody's curious, like what kind of places do you live? Do you have roommates? I mean, all that.
Yeah, so we'll start with the regular training day. So nowadays we train in the mornings. Most of the year it's morning trainings. So I wake up in the morning, I make myself a little bit of breakfast here, and then I head over to training. I usually get there, depending on when training starts. If it starts if training starts at 11, that means we need to be in the locker room by 10, which means I usually get there about 9:30 to 9:40 to be on the safe side. So I get there, change. If I need to, I can go into the gym, do some stretching, foam roll. If I want to do a little workout, I can do a light workout in the gym before training. I can also go into our treatment room, get treatment, anything like that. Then some days we'll have film before we go out to the field. Other days we just go straight out to the field as a team. And we have, a normal training session. Training sessions are the same, in most parts of the world, pretty much all teams. It's, there's different types of trainings, but they're all pretty much the same. You do your warm up. Goalkeepers, we go through a goalkeeper session and we'll focus on one area, whether it's like low dives, power diving, crosses, distribution, footwork. We'll have some, focus area of the day. then we usually join the team. We'll either playing in some possession games or playing a small-sided or even a half field or 80-yard game, depending on the numbers and what the coaches want to see. And then after that, you go in, go get treatment again if you need in the treatment room, get food, shower, change, and then you're free to go home for the rest of the day. So that's kind of a typical training day. It's pretty relaxed. On the field, it's not relaxed at all, but off the field, it's relaxed. And then you also asked about kind of the setup in my accommodations here. So here I have my own apartment. It's a very nice apartment. I'm actually I can look out to the screen reverses, so it looks like it's my right, but it's actually my left. I can look out and I have a balcony, and the stadium is maybe 500 meters in front of my building. So I can actually I'm on the 14th floor, so I can see into the stadium a little bit from my balcony. And then the beach is another kilometer beyond that. So pretty nice apartment, and it's a bit. It's right now with the virus, it's me alone here. And so I've got way too much space. I only use about half the apartment. I use the common area and my bedroom. And then there's a couple extra rooms that I don't use. But pretty much all the players have their own apartment, at least all the foreign players. And then the team provides a car for everyone as well. So it's a pretty nice setup. They make things very easy.
I mean, that's amazing. Did you know you were going to have those kinds of accommodations before you went there? I mean, that's amazing. I know in Europe that's common, but just to hear you say, they give you a car, you've got 3 extra rooms, and it's you need visitors.
Yeah. I do have I have a friend from college who lives here in Israel, and he'll come stay with me occasionally. And, he's the only one who uses the guest bedroom, at least recently. But yeah, it's a nice setup. When I first came here, I didn't know what it was going to be like. I knew that I was going to, get an apartment and a car, but I didn't know to what extent. And that was actually something where when I was kind of working out the details of the contract, I was a little bit concerned that the contract didn't specify you have your own apartment, like a private apartment. Because if you want in USL, if you want that, it has to be in your contract. Otherwise, you're getting a shared apartment. And so, being in a new country and having my girlfriend come live here for extended periods, I definitely wanted my own apartment. And I was concerned that it wasn't in there. And when I brought it up, they were confused because they didn't even consider the fact that I would have shared an apartment.
Yeah, that's more a USL thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Europe, when they say you get an apartment, for them, it's pretty clear that they mean you'll have your own apartment.
Yeah.
How has it been? So a big thing for me, I know when I was there, was I missed my family and friends a lot. Also, when I went, I was a lot younger. I was straight out of high school. So it was a little different time for me. But I do remember missing my family and friends a lot. And I know we talked a little bit about how quarantine affects flights and how people can come and go. So you haven't been able to have the visitors that you've wanted to have. And I know your girlfriend hasn't been able to come as much as well. How's that been for you? Because I know that was a huge thing for me.
Yeah, so that's definitely been an adjustment. At first, it was difficult to be so far away, and then also having to deal with the time change. Where if I want to connect with anyone back home, there's really only a few hours a day when I can do it, and one of us isn't asleep. But early on when I was here. My girlfriend came out and she was living here for a bit. And so that was nice. My parents came out and visited. Her parents also came out and visited at one point. So that was all really nice. And that was all before the virus situation started. Since then, it's definitely been a bit more difficult, both like you mentioned with the travel restrictions, and then also just the general quarantine rules here. I'm stuck in the apartment alone a lot more. And and yeah, I definitely do miss miss kind of some of the social interactions and people from home, and it's something where I really kind of just focused more on the playing and the soccer, because that's what I can focus on right now. I can't control the external stuff.
I still want to hear more about this beach that's only a kilometer away from where you are. I mean, that's got to be fabulous. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know about your weather there. I know it's a Mediterranean climate, very similar to here, but is it dry? Is it humid? Is there room to roam on the beaches? Are they crowded? Is your town busy? Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm in a city called Haifa. It's towards the north end of Israel. It's a fairly large city, and the way the city is positioned, there's a big hill, and then kind of the coastline wraps around the hill almost. And so most of the real estate is either up on the hill or kind of around the base of the hill. And so I'm at the base of the hill on one side, and the beach is, at least near me, it's very open, sandy, and nice, pretty similar to the California beaches. The water is definitely warmer, and the weather here is very similar to California weather. It's a bit more humid, and then in the winter we get a lot more thunderstorms being right on the water here. And so, yesterday and today, there've actually been quite a few thunderstorms outside and a lot of rain. But, earlier this past week, it was, in the mid 70s, sunny, beautiful every day. And so, and I know today California is in the 80s, I think, which is pretty crazy for January. So overall, the weather is pretty similar. Definitely a bit more humid here, but only for a couple months a year.
Wow, that's really good too. Actually, your Wi-Fi is doing really good too, despite that, which is always a good sign. All right. Well, any last questions here, Sharon B. Chef, before we close it out?
I was going to say, obviously quarantine affects this, but how much do you actually go to the beach? Because in one of the teams I played for in Bulgaria, Varna is right on the beach. It's a city in Bulgaria right on the beach as well. And now, like, thinking back and living here, I actually wish I would have gone more and done more things to the beach. I still went, a few times, and after training, I would just go and like lay out on the beach, and it was amazing. But I don't think I capitalized as much as I could have on living next to the beach. Do you go enough, or do you feel like you could go more?
I definitely could go more. I go occasionally, but not too often. And that's one thing where here I have to be a little bit careful right now, because we technically are in quarantine still. And as a member, the team here is very popular, and it's the most popular sport in the country. And so on the news, like the Israeli equivalent of ESPN, my team is featured, the equivalent of the Lakers on SportsCenter. And so that's the amount of media time we get, meaning that if I'm outside, people will notice. And right now with the quarantine, if people take photos of me where I'm not supposed to be, I can get in a lot of trouble and get a nice fine.
It's a big no-no.
Yes, and so I want to avoid that, but also even before, I went to the beach. Some evenings I would go for a little walk around sunset, and that was really nice. But I definitely could go more. I think I've been very privileged in the fact that I went to college in San Diego for 5 years, and I lived in La Jolla, so it's not like it's not a new experience. And so I think in a few years I might be in the same boat where I think about it and think, oh, I should have gone more. But for the meantime,
you're not beach deprived.
I'm not going a lot, but I'm not missing it.
God, yeah, you're not beach deprived now. That definitely makes sense.
And that's absolutely amazing. Your analogy of the sports coverage there for your squad and how recognizable you will be. I mean, you were sort of recognizable here in Sacramento, but only by the fans, the diehard fans. But that's just amazing. So Lakers and your team and coverage, and people could probably bust your chops. So I'm glad you're staying safe, and I'm glad you're kind of keeping it low key.
Yeah, that whole thing was kind of the biggest adjustment for me, or the biggest shock when I first came here, in one of those first 2 days before I left with the team for France. The goalkeeper coach had told me, go on a run just for fitness purposes, because I wasn't allowed to train until I cleared my medical. And so I went on a nice run where I went from the hotel, wrapped down by the beach, along the beach a little bit, and then back. And on that run, there were multiple times where a car, like I'm driving on sidewalk on the side of the road, where a car like pulled over, lowered their window, and like asked me like, "Oh, are you Josh Cohen?" And like was like, "Oh, we're fans of the team, welcome," and would say stuff. And this is literally my first day there, and I'm just like running, I'm sweaty, I'm not wearing anything from the team. and so that was kind of where I realized, okay, it's different.
Wow, that's pretty sweet, right? It's a cool feeling to know that they already recognize you, and that they know it's your first day, right? You just came, and that's how you know that you do have some really dedicated fans that are just keeping up, right, with anything that goes on. So I actually did have one last question, and this is more so just out of curiosity. So I was on your Wikipedia page, and it shows that in your youth career you have a Grêmio from Brazil. Is that true, or did someone just add that?
Nope, I was there for only 3 months. So I went there one summer. I trained with their youth team, the Infantil, and a little bit the juvenile team, which is their like U15s and their U17s. It was it was 2008, I believe, over the summer, and it was an opportunity that came up through an old goalkeeper coach I had, who was Brazilian and had some connections. And so I went down there, was able to train, and it was it was a tough experience. My first time living away from home for an extended period, but I learned a lot. I got a lot better as a player, and it was just kind of a cool thing to see what it's like, at these big clubs.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you had that, and I think that probably helped you, right? That really helped you in right now, and having a different mentality out there, and definitely with the international experience too.
Yeah. I think it a bit taught me to just kind of roll with the punches a little bit. When you're in such a foreign experience like that, you don't know how things are going. You're very hesitant at first, and you just kind of have to sit back and trust that things will go okay, and that and that the people around you will help you if needed. And so that was, but yeah, that was my first real experience where I'm on my own. I'm playing soccer, and it was very, very different, but I learned a lot.
You epitomize the California chill attitude, mister, kind of like that beach, Bay Area, South Bay, San Diego. I mean, all that fits you. You definitely epitomize that. So don't ever lose that quality, because that's part of how we are.
Yeah, I got to keep it. It's gotten me this far, so I have to trust it and try and keep it.
So Josh, on behalf of Villian and Luis and the State of the Republic podcast, I mean, we're just so thrilled that you had time to spend with us, given your stardom there in Israel. And, feel free to share this podcast, this video podcast, when we get it up and running. And it will be interesting to see if your fans there in Israel have a tendency to kind of want to hear more of what you had discussed with us today. So at the end of the day, we appreciate you, and any words you want to say to the folks back home, your fans here, your fans there? Give us that positive ending, that nice, give us that.
Yeah, so I just want to say, thank you to all the fans back in Sacramento for for all the support from when I was there, and the continued support. I still get comments and messages from fans in Sacramento, and it's amazing. And I'm hoping that both myself here and the team there will have a fantastic season this coming year, and we'll get fans back in seats everywhere this year so that people can come out, support, and do things beyond just yelling at their computer screen or their TV screen. but thank you for having me on the podcast. I had a great time, and I'll definitely share it once it's up and live.
Thank you again, Josh. And go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say thank you guys for having me on as well. Josh, it was awesome to talk to you and catch up a little bit. Great to see you. A lot of good memories, obviously, and glad to see you're doing well and thriving over there. Again, good luck with everything, and really cool to talk to you.
Yeah, good catching up, and best of luck to you as well.
All right. Thank you, Josh. Best of luck this year, and again, we'll be keeping a close eye on your team this season.
Absolutely.
Right, appreciate it.
It's funny, Josh, now I'm going to really start watching more. I mean, and keep posting on Instagram, because that's a lot of how, a lot of us will stay in touch. We really do like watching your posts.
Well, that was a really great interview, Sharon. It's our very first interview in Israel, because he's in Israel. Time difference is completely different than here too. So I'm really glad that Josh was able to fit this interview in a schedule, because obviously it's not that easy to coordinate when you're in completely different time zones across the world. But awesome to hear his experience, and it's so amazing how much he's developed this game, and we're really proud to see him doing big things over there, and hopefully making it to Champions League. Fingers crossed. They're in first place right now. If they keep it up there, they'll have the qualifier at least to Champions League, and if they don't make it there, at least we'll get to see him in a Europa group play. So it's a win-win.
It was crazy to talk to an alumni that's just done so well for himself, and to hear how they treat him there, and to hear how popular he is and how recognizable. Mm-hmm. It was really nice to see that for Josh, because he, when he was here, he was just such a humble and solid goalkeeper. And then just to see him get recognized, and now he's their guy, and it's just wonderful. It was good. I'm so glad we had a chance, Luis, to set this up and get up a little early, our time, to catch him before he went to bed, their time. Yeah.
So it worked out good. Again, we're really thankful for Josh for joining us today, and looking forward to him hopefully coming down in the summer, and us having games in the summertime, being able to be there and having him there, and hopefully maybe doing a live there from the stadium when he's there, and all of us actually just on one screen this time. So fingers crossed that we get USL back and that we're able to be there.
Yeah, absolutely, Luis.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sharon, for joining us also tonight here. I know I keep saying tonight, even though it's morning here, but it's tonight in Israel, so I want to keep it as tonight. It's been good here, and be on the lookout, everyone, for our next interview. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be with another former Republic player that we've known for a while. He had 2 different times with the team. And so I'll just give you guys that clue as to it's a player that came back. He was with us just recently, so that'll be your clue as to who it might be. So we will be posting that in the next week, and it should be an interesting one. So also another reminder again, if you're not following us on social media, please do so. You can follow us at State Republic 12 is what you got to search for on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So please give us a follow. we are going to be doing a Republic Jeopardy monthly, as we stated before. And so you definitely want to be following us so you're able to find out when we announce the date of that next one, and also who is going to be on it. We're still trying to figure it out. We know Bijev is going to be on as the reigning champion to defend his title, but the other two contestants are to be determined. So once we get those finalized, we'll have a date to announce for you all. And again, if you follow us, you'll find out when that is, and you'll be able to actually tune in at the time it goes on. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us or for watching us if you're watching us on YouTube. Also, if you're not subscribed on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Just search for State of the Republic podcast. You'll find our link there. If you can't find it that way, just search for Republic Jeopardy Live, and you'll find our channel there with our video of the Republic Jeopardy. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and for listening to us. Have a great day or night, and we'll see you next time.